I am on page 137 of your book. This is in the reference section, the very last chapter, where we are keeping track of our grammar rules. And I want to talk to you today about possessives. And for me, this is one of the hardest English rules to do correctly. I always had trouble with this. I think I probably always will. But I do want to go over with you what possessives are and how to properly write them. So to start this off, I want to give you the definition of the word possessive. And I am going to just leave it there. These are usually called possessive nouns. But because of the word I want to talk to you about in just a little while, I'm not going to call them nouns. We're just going to say they're possessives. So a possessive is a word that shows ownership. And the way that we show ownership is with a punctuation mark called an apostrophe. Apostrophe. And apostrophes look like commas, except apostrophes are at the top of a word. Commas, let me just show you the difference, and you might want to write this down too. An apostrophe is going to be at the top of a word, and a comma is going to be at the bottom. So the marks look the same, it's just the position of the mark that determines which it is. So possessive is a word that shows ownership with an apostrophe. And here is an example. Let's start with this phrase. The car that belongs to Bob. Now, if I were telling you about this car, would I say the car that belongs to Bob? I could. There's nothing grammatically wrong with that. But it's much easier to say Bob's car. And when I say that, you probably are hearing, I hope you are, the S, Bob's car. And when I add the S, I add an apostrophe. Bob's car. This is the possessive right here. So this is the possessive with the apostrophe. And we'll do some more. This is a possessive noun. Bob's car is the car that belongs to Bob. The house that belongs to Chris is Chris's house. And since Chris is just one person, we still use an apostrophe S. If you just have one person that owns the house, you do need the apostrophe and the S to make the possessive. Again, this is the possessive. So what if we have this one? the kite that belongs to the boys. So I have 3 boys and they have 1 kite. The kite that belongs to the boys. This time I have more than 1 person that owns something. All of the boys own the kite. It belongs to all of them. So in this one I just put an apostrophe at the end. You don't want to add another S here because you already have more than 1 person. So this is the possessive, but you have just the apostrophe because you have more than 1 owner. If there's 1 owner, you do apostrophe S. If there's more than 1 owner, you just put the apostrophe. And that's what drove me crazy. It's not as easy as just sticking an apostrophe on there if there's an S. You have to think about how many owners there are. So Bob is 1 person, that's 1 owner. Chris is 1 owner. Okay, let's do another one here. One more, and then I will three classes I'm sorry. Let me start over, guys. I apologize. I'm not thinking ahead. It's Friday and I'm very tired. Projects that belong to 3 classes. So all 3 classes at the high school are working on these projects. So the possessive would say 3 classes projects. So we look at this noun right there. They're people, so they're nouns. That's going to be our possessive that ends in S. And it's more than 1. So if it's more than 1 and it ends in S, we just put the apostrophe on there. 3 classes projects. So this is how to make a possessive using an apostrophe. Now, I do want to tell you we're actually not going to use this rule in our writing exercise for this chapter, but we will use this one. So I want you to be very careful with its and its. And I'm going to show you the difference here. If you're saying its with the apostrophe, this is not possessive. What this actually is saying is it is. So here's an example of this in a sentence. It's raining today. So if I'm using this form with the apostrophe, I should be able to say it is raining today, and that makes perfect sense. The other one, let me just give you a sentence. The dog buried its bone. And you might be thinking, well, the bone belongs to the dog, so do I not need an apostrophe? And this is an exception to that apostrophe rule. This is a possessive. It's a possessive pronoun, not a possessive noun. So the rule up there works with nouns. But if you're dealing with pronouns, things can be a little bit tricky. They don't have the apostrophes. So I want you to be very careful with these two forms. It's means it's equal to it is. And it's with no apostrophe is the possessive form of that pronoun. So we are going to use this rule in our writing exercise. But in order to explain that to you, I had to tell you about possessives. If you have questions on this, please call me or ask your teacher, and I will be happy to help you. I know this is confusing, or to me it is. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too badly, but I can certainly understand if there are questions on this one. The next video will be our writing exercise, and you'll use some of this skill in that exercise along with a lot of the others you've learned. So I'll see you soon for that one, and I hope you have a great day.